album time, ladies, gentlemen, those in between and beyond. And this time from Starground, my rock and singer songwriter project. You can find the music, of course, on all streaming platforms. It's available everywhere on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get your music. Just search Starground, and you're gonna find this album. Please do. Spent a year working on a little baby, and I'm pretty happy with it. And this is it's the start of a new series of albums that I'm planning on making, which sort of spawned from the fact that I have a couple of hundred songs sitting around that I really wanted to make, you know, good productions for and release at some point, but they just never seemed to really fit on any of the albums that I was making. So I decided to make like a sub series of albums where the explicit purpose of them is just this is where I put all these songs. And then of course I did what I always do when I got ambitious. So there is 8 classic songs, should we call them, 7 freshly written songs, and 1 cover on this album. The general style for the album is singer-songwriter music, which, as you may know, can mean many different things, and we will go through the album song by song, just giving a short description of what the album is. But first, just some, some stuff we got to cover. First of all, here's my beautiful Bandcamp page to like it. Here you can buy the albums. All the albums cost 50 kroner. The EPs cost 25 and singles cost 6 kroner. But this is a new album, so it's a little bit more expensive at 75 kroner. But that also comes with a booklet. It's 46 pages of lyrics for every single song, quotes for most songs, and liner notes for every single song. We're going into details, production details, songwriting details, the stories behind the albums, all that good stuff that people seem to want to know about my music. I found it difficult in parties and concerts to really come up with something interesting to say on the spot about an album, because it's quite a lot. This is an hour and 8 minutes, so this is quite a lot to say in the grand scheme of things. So I decided to just put it all in a booklet in a convenient place. Now this is Bandcamp, so I believe the only real way to pay for it is PayPal, and I guess I wasn't really aware of that, and for some that might be a bit of a hassle, or they might not want to use or set up a PayPal or whatever. So I've also printed out 100 codes for the albums, for the album, that you can then purchase at the concert. I don't expect to be selling 100 copies of this album at the concert. Just to be clear, it's just a minimum amount, which is annoying. But that's the way it is. But then you can pay mobile pay or cash or what have you, directly to me, and then you can get a code and download it. Highest quality audio available. That giant booklet with also high quality images, like this artwork. You can see that in highest quality. Actually read what this says, which are some little Easter eggs hidden within the booklet, and then the cover and the back and stuff like that. I've had a lot of fun just playing around with this. I've this was supposed to be just like a short little release. Honestly, initially I wanted it to be done in a month. That was August last year. So it's taken a year. But yeah, I just kept wanting to do fun little things with it. But yeah, I think those are all the things. Oh yeah, the concert, should mention, 9th of August, at Studenterhuset. We are doing a concert which is 50% me performing and 50% you performing. So it's going to be a literal open mic at the From the Open Mic release concert. I thought that was a cute, fun little thing to do. Now let's go through each individual songs. Now the subtitle for this album is, as you can see, Decades, And that was something that came about late in the process. Around like December last year, I realized that I had covered basically every decade from the 60s all the way up to the modern times. If I could just make an 80s sounding song, I would have covered all of them. So I did that, found a song that fit with the 80s aesthetic. Um, and so I felt it was appropriate to subtitle it Decades. I might, I might continue to do little things like that throughout the albums, have a little red thread, despite it being just a loose collection of singer-songwriter songs produced really according to what each of them needs, as opposed to according to one like book, one set aesthetic. But speaking of the aesthetics, here we have the beautiful back cover. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very happy with it. The whole aesthetic of the cover and the back cover, it's sort of supposed to evoke some cheap, 50% off album you find in a bargain bin in some gift shop when you're on vacation somewhere, and it's just this random thing, and you have no idea what it is, no idea, who made it or anything, but it looks basically like this. Right? I've seen a couple of those in gift shops with classical music and stuff like that. So even the background here, to fit in with that, that's not white. That is cream, technically. And we've got a nice, beautiful wood grain border around here and stuff like that. It's all made to be sort of kitsch, which I really fell in love with during the process. So also this whole setup on the back here, I really like it. I thought it was very fun working on this, making this little logo here, this little Starground logo with some woman and some mountain. This is just some clip art, and this is some clip art, and then some clip art, and then this is some text I wrote, and this is some clip art. It's fun. Anyway, the individual songs. So the first song here is called Morning Song. Now, actually, before we delve into individual songs, there's just a fun little thing that I'd like to mention, which is that it starts with Morning Song, obviously. It's a song about the morning, literally the first line after humming, like gentle humming and bird sounds. The first line is morning has broken. So it starts with the very break of the morning, and then the final line on the final song, Utopia, is this concludes tonight's broadcast. And remember, new electric car. But we'll forget about that part and just focus on it starts with morning has broken and ends with this concludes tonight's broadcast. So it's sort of an entire day condensed into an album with highs and low lows, very low, very low lows. Okay. First song, Morning Song. It's a sort of a 60s inspired gentle folk pop song with harmonies and some guitar and piano and stuff like that. It's supposed to be very gentle. I do maybe go a little bit aggressive towards the end, but I mean not aggressive, just like powerful. Where had I planned it out, I might have gone a bit more gentle, but I still really like it. I think it's a very gentle and beautiful start to the song. The second song is about two people falling in love, a gay man and a gay woman. Initially it was about two gay guys falling in love, but I changed that because I didn't really want to sing from the perspective of a man anymore. And it's actually based off of, it was written in like, you can find it in the booklet, I'm not looking it up, anything like that. This is just like a quick little video I'm putting together. So it was written in the past, somewhere between 2015 and 2020. That's sort of how it goes with the more classic songs here. But it was about an event that took place in 2011, 2012, which is kind of ridiculous to think about. Sort of a foundational sort of crush thing, but you can read more about that in the booklet. But yeah, sort of inspired by that, an event that took place 13 years ago. God, I'm old. Anyway, Number 3, Godspeed You, Black Mountain, is a goodbye to a friendship. Um, and it's sort of the style of it is sort of folk rock, I guess, and sort of inspired by The Tallest Man on Earth. There's a lot of this album is, but yeah, it's written about the end of a friendship where I can just sort of feel that me and her had sort of drifted apart. And there was no animosity, there was no hate, there was no anything. It was sort of the best way that a friendship could end. And so I wanted the song to feel like a victory, right? Like this is the best possible way that this could have gone down, and that should be celebrated, you know. And these first 3 songs, as you may have seen with the video promoting that single release, they're part of a trio called the Ambience Trio. The 3 songs are tied together by having all ambience. So here we have bird songs, and here we have the Howling Mountain. No, sorry, that's that one. There's the tell. Here we have the gulp of waves up against the bow of a boat, and here we have a howling mountain, and campfire and stuff like that. It's really fun to work on that. And then number 4 we have Notebook, which is sort of an honorary member, I think, of this, because like all of these, it starts with a bit of humming. Something I didn't notice until like very towards the end, that a lot of the songs start with just me gently. It sounds good, but I maybe overdid it a little bit. But yeah, Notebook was a song written during COVID to my friends to be like, everything's gonna be okay, guys. We're gonna get that vaccination. It's gonna be fine. Here, I've sort of turned it into a lullaby to a future baby who's like scared about getting, a vaccination, as happens with kids, and it starts really like gentle and in a very closed room, with like one side being the more masculine voice and the other side being the more feminine voice, like a mother and a father singing to a baby, and then it sort of goes wider and more magical as the song progresses, to sort of simulate a child falling asleep. Just thought it was very cute. Then Nordhavn-Station. Yeah, Danish. Interesting. So this is a cover of a song made by my dear friend Nana Sørensen. We've collaborated a couple of times playing together live, and I did a production for his song After the Storm. Sort of when I put together the idea from the open mic, I was sort of harkening back to 2016, really, where it was a bit of a golden age for that old friend group there, and there was like a couple of things that were big in that artist friend group. One of them was admittedly my song Frail Little Man. Another was Nana's Nordhavn-Station. Maybe even, probably even more so than Frail Little Man. And then a poem by Stefan called From Thoughts on Love, and then an Ossa song. So yeah, I sort of wanted to pay homage to that time by doing covers of that, and also been thinking for a while it'd be fun to just like do covers of my friends' music. So I did that here, sort of trying to combine Nana's more down to earth, sophisticated balladry with my more sort of over the top stylings, which I think came together like pretty neatly. It is a very fun build, I think, where it just goes like gigantic. And by the end of it, I've kind of mixed the vocals slightly lower, so it just feels like they're being like overwhelmed by the instrumental. You can hear them, but it's definitely is buried, like being buried by emotions. I thought that was very fun, very cute little detail. And we have the next one here, number 6, UTF. It's a sort of a 70s jam band and psychedelic rock inspired sex jam. Yeah, didn't think I would release a sex jam, but then I released Who's Your Mama. Didn't really think I was gonna release 2 sex jams, but here we are. Maybe I'm getting more sex brained. Who the fuck knows? It was just me, fucking around, playing some chords on a electric guitar, which I do own. I just barely use it. Um, yeah, and I came across some chords that kind of made me feel, kind of sounded like "Get Lucky" by Daft Punk, and I thought, let's that's fun. That's a fun idea. Let's play around with that, seeing if we can do something with that, and if it's too like close to "Get Lucky," we can just like not release it. That's an option, But then it sort of developed into this hazy, fussy thing that is very much its own thing, I think. Yeah, and it's the first freshly written song on the album. This was written like the end of last year, but sort of um, whenever I wrote a new song for the album, I tried to do it in that sort of older style that I used to do, where it would just like pick up a guitar, bash out some chords, and just think of some words on the spot, basically. Where I'm more sort of methodical nowadays with my songwriting. I think it through. I think of a concept, and then I work it throughout the song. But here I try to do it in a more classical singer-songwriter style whenever I did the new songs. So I think you can still tell whenever there is a new song, because it's just a little bit cleverer, I think, and a little bit more cohesive. I mean, you do grow. I mean, the oldest song on this album is from 2015. It's 9 years old. Uh, so there has been some changes, and I can't really escape that, and I don't really want to. But I still think like it fits sort of the aesthetic of the album. All right. Number 7 here is my best named song ever, La 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 La, which is a sort of late 60s, early 70s political pop rock inspired. Okay, it's David Bowie inspired. um, yeah, and it's actually pretty old, but it's, I think, even for being written by like 23-year-old, I think I did a pretty decent job with some of the political stuff on it. It's a highly political, that's like the big joke of the song, is that it's called La 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 La, but it's actually a relatively serious political song about the state of the world and how we're all gonna fucking die, and Mars isn't gonna save us. Um, but it's called La 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 La, which is again sort of that like putting your fingers in your ears, but you'll see. I play around with it, I think. And yeah, and that's sort of whenever there is an older song on this album, it's because it's stuck with me. I mean, Morning Song, I've been thinking about doing that every year since 2015. I considered it for my debut record from 2017, but I didn't quite fit. But just every year, just like I gotta do Morning Song, and that's why I wanted to do this release, because there's so many songs that I've just been thinking I need to do that justice. So here's my opportunity to do that. Right, Brighter Than the Sun is a sort of, again, a political song, but very much in this 80s style. That was the one that I turned into an 80s song, and it fit very beautiful. It's sort of a take on, yeah, 70s, 80s feminist singer-songwriters, and that sort of sarcastic style they had back then. But very much with the 80s pop aesthetic of just like overdoing the reverb and like this saxophone at one point doing a lick, which is just like, mwah, it's beautiful. I love it. But yeah, and this is the one where I sort of realized that I wanted to do more sort of underplayed vocals, not just mixing them lower, which I've also done across this album, and I'm going to continue to do, because I've had a bad habit of mixing the vocals so that they overshadow the instrumental, where actually it should kind of be the other way around, unless it's like a vocal showpiece, right, where this incredible vocalist is just showing their abilities off, then it should be that way around. But that's not really my aesthetic. So so I've been doing some thinking about, the way that I do things, and trying to improve and stuff like that. But here, I'm talking about doing, instead of going into the song, because it's an angry song, so my initial idea for it was to just go angry and aggressive and distorted vocals, distorted rock vocals. But then I sort of had a brainwave of like, why don't we underplay this? Why don't we go gentle instead of going aggressive? And I found that when you do that, the emotions actually stand out much clearer, because there's sort of a, when something is aggressive, it's sort of it activates a visceral part of your body, which stops your brain from thinking and starts your heart feeling, right? So you're not thinking about what's actually happening, you're just feeling the emotions and being drawn into it, which when you have a point with a song, that's kind of the opposite of what you want. So again, new thoughts about how to do things in future, but also just wanting to do more gentle vocals and stuff like that. Anyway, number 9, By the Pier by the Beach with the Amusement Park Was, the latest single, the 11-minute monster. Yes, 11 minutes. And no, it's not just choruses done on repeat. This is the most ambitious song on the record. Duh. And it's sort of, it has several different movements, starting off like an 80s musical ensemble piece, and then building off into a solo, talking about death. The song deals with the subject of death, because I felt that if a song is this big and this long and this ambitious, it has to be an important subject. Right? And then after the monologue, it builds into this like pipe organ based progressive rock passage that's almost entirely like that is completely instrumental towards the end, while trying to evoke certain ideas and feelings throughout it. So yeah, definitely like one of my most ambitious songs ever, and it's taken quite a lot to take it to the point at which I feel like it justifies the length. I've been very much like going in and doing like a couple of BPM faster just to get the time down and make sure it isn't boring, it isn't slow, just like it's the right level. And it shouldn't be fast either, because it's a sad subject, so it shouldn't be upbeat, it shouldn't be fast, it should be like a right medium. So I've played around with it a lot, and I think ultimately it deserves the length that it has, despite it being almost 11 minutes. And I can also see why some people they don't have the patience for this stuff. It's completely fair. Actually, since the album is an hour and 8 minutes, which is actually quite long for an album, I do recommend just like stopping halfway through and just like taking a break, doing something else, and then coming back to it later. This is my personal recommendation. And just before, just after, By the Pier by the Beach with the Amusement Park Was, it seems like a good place for it to go. Anyway, number 10. Oh. The Bad Guys Win. And this is a freshly written song, sort of taking inspiration from the distorted 90s and grunge and rock and where that was at that point. But again, from a singer-songwriter perspective. Whenever I've played around with style and genre on this album, I've always come at it from like, this needs to be foundationally a singer-songwriter song. No matter what the style, the genre, whatever, right? It's singer-songwriter. Foundationally. Even the 11-minute one, that still feels like a singer-songwriter song that has been turned into this big, orchestral piece of music. The Bad Guys Win is a political song about being transgender, which is why that's one was pretty obvious that it's a relatively recent song. But yeah, it's just about the pressures of being trans and being, oppressed by society and treated like a monster and stuff like that. Number 11, With Many Faces, and number 12, Coda, with Many Faces. Ooh, 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 ooh. This is a song that I've wanted to do for years. I've been so eager to get this done well. Because, okay, a little bit of a story time. There was a point where I got so annoyed at repetition that that I reinvented the concept of the rhapsody, which, if you don't know, is a piece of music that goes through different phases without ever repeating any previous phase. So it's a song without a chorus, the very most basic foundational form. Um, because I was just so annoyed at having to play the chorus over and over again. I wanted diversity in my music. I've always sought that as someplace down below in the psyche. I've always sought something different, something that changes, something that is interesting to me and keeps being interesting. So this is a rhapsody. There's no chorus, and it's taking inspiration from the fact that, if you don't know, I'm mentally ill. I've been diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder. And one thing that can happen when I'm really, really, really in a bad place is I can get these quite severe mood swings where I can go from overjoyed to panicking to in love in the matter of 15 minutes, right? Go through these intense emotions without being in control of it myself, and almost feeling like I'm being puppeteered by something else, to forced into feeling these feelings that are sort of, they're thrust upon me. They aren't real, but I feel them, but they're hollow. It's very complex and weird and interesting. I'm allowed to say that because I get it. But yeah, from like an artistic and a story writing, a songwriting perspective, it is really interesting to have these intense mood swings. And that's sort of what the song is about, going from panicking to chipper and very happy, and then aggressively self-loathing, and then in love, and then depressed, through all these different phases. And each of them have their own style to them, where one is like this really aggressive, almost like modern experimental music, and one of them is like a pastiche of an Elvis song. It's crazy different things, and that's what this album sort of is about. So it's perfect fit here, and I'm really happy with the mix that I got in here. It's complex. It's sort of the height of the complexity in production on the album, despite only being less than half of this length. But it ends with this huge sweeping passage where it's just sort of tried to get across the feeling of being attacked by and subsumed by a malign alien entity into doing things that you don't want to do, which has led to this like soundscape that is just fucking crazy. Like, have to hear it to believe it. It's genuinely some of the craziest shit I've ever released, up until number 12, Coda with Many Faces. So this, if you don't know what a coda is, it's a sort of a slight return to a progression, a chord progression, a melody, something like basic and foundational from a different song. Sometimes they come at the end of a song. Sometimes they come as a completely separate song. It's fast and loose. The most famous one is probably Coda for the Damaged. And yeah, I also wanted to evoke that with the title. It kind of sounds like it's not a coda. Anyway, but with this one, it's really interesting. So it is just the chords from the end of With Many Faces, but then I had a manic episode where I just, for some reason, gained the ability to do improvisation on my guitar, which I usually just can't do. I can't make it sound good, which is why I don't really do it all that much. But I had a day where I just like it just flew out of me, and I just so inspired to do all these different weird complex things and interesting things on my guitar. And I even I had this metal stylus for my phone, and I took it and I just thought, this might sound neat being rubbed against the string, and it did. It sounds crazy. It sounds like some weird, uh, bowed instrument that you've never heard of, but it's just a piece of metal on a guitar string. It's just I had this really fun manic recording session where I just got it all done, and then one recording session for the vocals, which are relatively difficult to hear, and there's sort of more of um, a feeling, a mood, a texture. And that's really what the song is all about. It's textures, different, relatively high quality recordings of guitar all melding together in this soundscape that is just really meditative in a way. This is my most replayed song on the entire album. I keep going back to it. Just put on some good cans and just sit with it for 3 minutes and just just feel it. It's I love it. I have no idea how I managed to do this. That is sort of a big reason why I keep going back to this, because I don't get how I did it. That's a pretty good sign, I think. 13, Don't Give Up on Me. This one's interesting. I did something fun, which again I just sat down in a bit of a mood and I just wrote a bit of a sad song, as I would do, and I've done hundreds of times before in the past, back when I wrote a song a week. But then instead of recording just the guitar and then the vocal in separate tracks into a click, so it's easy to produce around, what I did was I just turned on the microphone and I just played the song. Sat in a chair, played the song on my guitar, and then that's what I produced around, which sounds pretty rough and like you shouldn't do that. And but that is how we did the entirety of my first album. And as a person who's now produced just one song that isn't to a click or anything where the vocals and the guitar are in the same track, I just want to say I'm very sorry, Christian, that I put you through that. This is horrible. I never want to do that again. Never want to do that again. Please. But I do think I managed to get something out of it. I will be perfectly blunt. It's the worst song on the album. This is probably the one that people are going to skip the most. And then it's probably going to be a subset of people who's like, no, actually it's the best song on the album because it's like really raw and shit. And fair enough. Don't let me tell you what to like and don't like. But yeah, I do think I came up with some neat little ideas for it, especially the ending. I think is quite well done. And it was quite fun actually having singing backing vocals to it, because it's not like, as I said, it's not to a click. So I just basically had to hit record and then like sing along to it as it was happening, just sort of intuiting what the timing was, which was difficult, but in an interesting and fun kind of way. Anyway, 14, 15, and 16 is another trio of songs spelling out awesome capitalist utopia. So yeah, I'm coming out as a conservative. No, thankfully not. So capitalist and utopia are sort of meant to spell out one thing, capitalist utopia, but I just noticed like a couple of months back that awesome is also a one-word title. So it kind of sounds like I'm saying awesome capitalist utopia, yay! I'm not. That's just a coincidence. It's just a little coinkydink that happened on the album. Don't worry. But 14 awesome here. So this is a song that I wrote last year after coming out from from my coming out depression. Coming out of my coming out depression, you could say. So a year and a half of just being sad about being trans and unstructured, unfocused, and just in a terrible place. Sorry if you can hear my upstairs neighbor. They just moved in and they don't know how loud this apartment complex is, so I have to tell them that. Anyway, so yeah, I wrote it once I exited that depression. I started to feel a lot better, and I came back to my faith. Things just were going a lot, better really. And sound wise, it's like like a 70s or 90s lounge, easy listening kind of thing. Um, which is fun. I've never really done stuff like that. It's another thing that's fun about this. I can just sort of explore whatever and without having to make an entire album in that style. It's quite nice. Um, yeah, I think that the reason that I really wanted it on here is because I think every meaningful event in your life as a songwriter deserves a song, and this was sort of for that quite meaningful event of like getting better. Um, yeah, I wanted that, and I got it. Pretty happy with it. Now, Capitalists and Utopia. Now these are also freshly written for the album. In fact, the final one, two, three, four, five are all written for the album. It's quite interesting. And the first four, five are not written for the album. That's also quite fun. Coincidences, they happen, you know? Anyway, so Capitalist. Initially, this is just a shower song, really. It's only 48 seconds. And one day in the shower, it's literally, this is a recent thing I started picking up. I'll just like, because showering takes so long now, I'll just like think about, writing a song because I'm in the mood for one, and then I think up some lyrics. And I had basically the entirety of Capitalist done by the end of the shower. And I wrote it down on my phone, and then I tried, coming up with more verses, maybe a chorus, a bridge, and stuff like that, and chords. And I just, whatever I tried to do to it, I just think it made it worse as a listening experience. So I just thought, you know what? It works on its own. At the end of the day, it just works. So why mess with it? Just like make it a 48-second song. Who cares? Like, why not? And then in the course of making this, I had an idea, which was, I think at the end of this, what would be fun is if there's just a synth that goes boop, 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 and then that led to the entirety of Utopia. I just came up with all these different ideas. Yeah, this almost 6-minute song spawned from this 48-second song, and they're what I like to call twinned, as pieces, because this was born in this song's original project file, and then I just thought, I looked at the two parts and thought, they could be separate songs. This doesn't need to be the lead into Utopia. You can just listen to Utopia on its own. You can listen to Capitalists on its own, but they are sort of tied together. Capitalists sound sort of like beat poetry, with like and stuff. And Utopia is an almost completely instrumental piece of electronic music that basically sounds like, what if Daft Punk liked distortion just a little bit more than they do on Discovery, and that's basically it. I had a lot of fun doing this, and also it's completely new for me. And to be completely frank, these were not supposed to be on this album. These were supposed to be on the next album, but then I sort of realized I wanted to do something different with it, but so they didn't fit. So I just sort of plonked them on here, but I still think they fit on the whole like thing. But they're not written especially like singer-songwriter songs. They're sort of their own thing. So that's sort of the only exception to the singer-songwriter rule. Okay, I think that's about it. What I want to say. Oh, did I mention something I think is quite fun that I just looked at earlier today? Is that the kind of these two albums, my previous Sacco Party and this Starground from the Open Mic Volume 1 Decades, they're sort of equal and opposite in a way. They very much are the very same aesthetic, basically the same size for the one in the middle, but this is made to look like stylish and pop art, and I guess, but sort of basically looks like it would go fucking hard on a t-shirt, and this looks kind of old and corroded, but in a fun way. I think it's deliberate, but I still like looking at it as these like two sister albums in a way. And it is just very, very different. Anyway, yeah, I think that's about it. Bye!